Stockholm Syndrome.
Are you referring to modern day Stockholm Syndrome?
I am. And its many machinations in society that we come to see in the lives of the people that we know and people that we don't know and people that we have judged because of their influence or the hold of Stockholm Syndrome on them.
Okay. We're black, so one of the biggest situations we see is black folks in Christianity.
Mm-hmm.
Black folks and their inability to treat white folks in the put white folks in the proper circumstances.
Oh boy. Okay, so there was this policewoman that killed a black man, the Haitian brother, in his house.
Yeah.
She claimed that she thought it was her apartment, even though she opened the door and didn't see none of her furniture in there. She shot this guy. Now let's hold on, stop. Let's jump all the way to the end to where she's being sentenced by a black female judge.
And don't forget the black
bailiff. The bailiff, black female who did her hair for her,
adjusted her hair. Then the judge, black female judge,
gives her a hug. When have you ever seen this happen?
When have you ever seen a white judge hug a convicted murderer?
Ever.
And so,
white or black,
even when his brother this is Botham Jean's brother, hugged her. Then the father forgave her. The father, there were so many issues with this, but let's unbox it from the beginning. First things first, she lied about the entire situation. Second, there was a rumor that they had dated at some point, because she lived in that building, that they had some kind of past sexual history. And I'm like, how come y'all didn't explore that? They dated. She's mad that he's moved on. You know what I'm saying? That's what it sounded like to me. But she lied in the very beginning when she shot him. He lied. She lied. All these different things. But why do black folks forgive white folks so easily? That is Stockholm Syndrome. When the person, when your captor, when you fall in love with your captor, when you sit here and you sit here and revere the person who is mistreating you as much as they do. Now, I ain't got no problem with white folks. We all got white blood in us. I'm not talking about that. I'm not saying that. But I'm talking about as a black society, as a black community, why do we do that? Yep.
Because Stockholm Syndrome is a flavor of the Willie Lynch syndrome and vice versa.
Well, it's complicated because Willie Lynch does work. I mean, white folks put a whammy on it.
Proven for centuries.
But okay, like Patty Hearst. They say this little white girl got kidnapped. The next thing you know, she holding a machine gun shooting at white folks.
Yeah.
Now, what did she actually get kidnapped, or did she go willingly, or did she get in with them and she agreed with them? We don't know. But that's what makes it so hard to prove it or analyze it correctly. But I'm saying, as black people, one of the biggest things, you keep hearing David Banner talk about this. He's talked about it multiple times. That's why it's so hard for us as black people to treat white people accordingly, is because that will picture white Jesus. We associate white people with God. Now, if we're going to have this serious talk about Christianity, because people are like, well, as smart as you are, I had a white guy tell me a long time ago, how do you still believe in God as smart as you are? I said, you're a Catholic, you do. But the fact is this. First, when we talk about Christianity, we must unbox Christianity. The first thing you learn in world history in high school is Christianity. Followers of Christ, the guy that died on the cross, this, and this. So let's dismantle that whole myth. So as black people, we understand the Africanness of the situation. First things first, there have been 16 Christs. Christ is a word that means anointed one. It's an Egyptian word, which is Christos. There have been 15 Christs, 16 Christs, 15 before the one that we know as Jesus. His name is not Jesus. His name is Yahshua. Yahshua been Latin, been out.
Yeah, but it doesn't really roll off the tongue. It needs to be. Yeah. It's not radio friendly.
But you must understand that as black people, if you're going to believe this, you need to believe the truth. First thing, he was crucified, but he was not crucified on a cross. He was crucified on an X. That's how we know he really was crucified. They actually have proof of this. Now, the cross is an African symbol, but also the cross is a symbol of sun worship. So what you have are elements of Christianity mixed in with Egyptian and these other African religious, however you want to call it. They mixed with spiritual methods that were mixed together. Second, when they talk about certain things, like they never want to bring up, when they went to Ethiopia, Axum, they found all these books of the Bible that weren't in the Bible. And they run back to Europe and they look at this. But they never tell you how old those books were. A lot of those books of the Bible predated Christianity. Now, how can a book predate Christianity? Because before Jesus and before the little Bethlehem story, that Messiah, that Christ, was Ethiopian. There have been like a couple Ethiopian Christs, a couple Egyptian Christs. That's what the whole issue is, that Christianity is following the anointed one. It's not following just this guy that put out on the cross. It's following whichever one God chose that period of time. And that's what we're missing. So the point being is this. Black folks are quick not to want to hurt white folks because of that picture of Jesus. We believe that Jesus is white. We believe that the Son of God is white. So why would we want to hurt these white folks? Because there's so many things about the Bible they explain to you that we don't put in context. So what I'm saying is that it's easy to have Stockholm syndrome when you believe that I don't get my heaven on earth. I gotta die to get heaven. I believe that I don't want to offend this white man because it might stop me from going to heaven. All I'm saying is that I've never seen a white judge hug a black convicted murderer. Where do they do that at? And hell, how come this is like a mistrial?
But there's a deep-seated inferiority complex right there.
Yeah.
And it has to stem from something that's epigenetic. Old. Very old. It's been taught.
It's been ingrained in us and driven into us. And that's why you mentioned the Willie Lynch syndrome. See, first thing first, about the Stockholm syndrome. Let's stay on subject. You're saying that there are people that suffer from Stockholm syndrome and we don't realize it. But you got to understand that there's generational Stockholm syndrome too. Mm-hmm. This is not just an individual thing. This thing has been ingrained in you for years. A few weeks ago, I was helping my sister and my nephew, and I was telling my nephew, like, his name ain't Jesus, his name is Yeshua. And my sister got mad. And so you got to understand that you have to be careful, and you have to see, if you don't see yourself in God, or if you don't see the God in you, then of course you will accept this punishment and this treatment. So Stockholm syndrome ain't just one incident, but even like we were talking earlier about Stockholm syndrome in relationships, that people stay in relationships that are abusive, or people like, man, why would you stay with her?
Okay, let's talk about that.
Why would you stay with her if she's doing this to you, or why would you stay with him if he's doing this?
Because it's familiar. One is familiar. So let's just explore that right there. It's familiar. People are lazy.
Fear.
Yeah. They don't want to do the work.
They don't want to start over.
To free themselves to start over because it's too much. And so what happens is they get caught up in this tidal wave of abuse, and it drags on for years, decades. Right. And so they find themselves either forced out of it or abandoned, all because they chose to be lazy.
But that's where, see, Stockholm syndrome is like a mental disorder.
But that's one part of it I'm talking about.
Yeah, of course. But what I'm saying is that once it kicks in, and if you don't recognize it, how are you going to fix it?
But see, stop there. Because there is, at some point, that line of demarcation.
That moment of clarity.
That moment of clarity where you're like, I'm playing myself. Everybody has that.
But that's not true, because you got to understand, me and you were born in the 70s. We got a fuck it switch. You only can do so much to me when I'm going to just say fuck it. But a lot of people don't have the fucking switch. And a lot of those people were raised to be taken care of.
But see,
some women were like that, but more and more this generation after us was raised to be taken care of by somebody.
Yes.
Why do you think people keep asking for socialism now?
But hold on. Stop before you go there. The reason why I believe that it's inherent in everyone, this line of demarcation, because people have borders. They put up walls. Hold on. Wait, let me get to this point. The thing is that, like, these people, you hear them mutter about, man, this is bullshit. That is a sign that they've reached a point, they're reaching a point of distaste with their current situation. You know what I'm saying? So they're conscious of it. It's like they're reaching that line we're about to cross and say, hey, this is bullshit. I'm not going to put up with it. Or they say, this is bullshit. I'm just going to see where this goes. You know what I'm saying?
But what you're not seeing is that, like I said, some people have it. Not everybody has that anymore because they were raised, they believe they have to depend on somebody. So look, even when you deal with relationships and people don't understand, there's such thing as addiction. I'm not saying everything's an addiction, but you can become addicted to a person. Their face, the way they smell, the way they make you feel. And so even though this person no longer makes you feel good, your brain is still conditioned to that person. When that person walks in the room, the endorphins go, or just the opposite. They make you suffer from depression. And people don't understand that you can become addicted to a person. And when that happens, how can you just leave that person? It's hard to leave drugs. You know, it's hard to leave anything that you're addicted to. Now, first things first, I don't throw the word addiction around, willy-nilly. No, I don't think, like Tiger Woods, I'm addicted to sex. but men ain't.
Right.
That's not a real addiction.
Sure.
But what I'm saying is that it is easy not to leave, or it's hard not to leave for the simple fact that I got somebody taking care of me. I'm used to this.
It's easy to stay.
Kids. Yeah. And so instead of let me start over. Let me create my own identity. So much of your identity is based on that relationship. So much of our identity as black folks are based on being subservient in America. How many black folks ask for gun control? And you sit here like, why would a black person ask for gun control? Because they beat you over the head with Martin Luther King. They didn't teach us about Malcolm X, and we live in Omaha, Nebraska. Because Malcolm was down with, hey, you come to my property, I'm going to shoot you. So what you got to understand is that the reason...
I was always raised knowing that he was a rebel.
We knew
Malcolm.
Yeah, we knew Malcolm.
You knew that he wasn't taking no shit.
But we didn't understand.
You understand why? Your parents would not explain
it to you. They wouldn't explain it to you. But see, that's the whole funny part about the reason we love comics and Marvel and so on. When Stan Lee told you that Professor X was Malcolm X and Magneto was Malcolm X, you started liking Magneto.
Okay, yeah.
But what it is that it's white people are comfortable talking about things that make them uncomfortable in comfortable settings. They love to talk about social discourse and things like that in a certain way. They won't talk like if there were white people in here, we were all talking. They wouldn't talk about racism. They wouldn't talk about that. They got manga hats at the house. They wouldn't talk about that. But at the same time, in their writing, in their songs, in their literature, it's there. And look, white men don't take this shit. Okay, we're talking about gun control. When was the first gun control in America? Do you know?
Oh yeah, that was after the Civil War.
No, actually, it was before the Civil War. It was the Bacon Rebellion in the 1600s, in 1640 something, whatever. This thing called the Bacon Rebellion.
Okay,
that's what we. This is before the country. This is before America as we know it existed. This is just some land that it's actually you have several people that called it King Philip's. It was El Morocco. Morocco owned this. You know, they tried to tell you there was no country here. You had Morocco, you got different things. But when you had indentured servitude, which was black folks and white folks as slaves, the white folks in this area in Virginia, whatever, got pissed off and said, "Fuck this shit." They wouldn't take it, so they rose up and started killing the owners. And all these people like, "Whoa, slow down, chill, brother." Now these were Irish. These are poor people, and what did they do? The ruling class did a couple of things. That's when the misogyny laws come into place.
Yeah.
And so they made these laws after the Bacon Rebellion. They said, look, if you finish up your servitude, your 7 years, so you got 3 years ago, if you finish up your 3 years, we'll give you land, guns, and gunpowder so you can help us maintain the black slaves.
Yes.
And the black slaves, so the first gun laws were for the black slaves and the white slaves.
Right.
White slaves finished.
See, what it was, I transposed that to after the Civil War.
This was actually way before the Civil War.
But it actually happened again.
Yes,
after the Civil War.
Much later during Reconstruction. You are correct.
Right.
But the first gun laws were 1600s. And when you realize about this Bacon Rebellion, you start reading about this, and you find out about the misogyny laws. Misogyny laws are the laws that if a white man married a black woman, he's fine. But if a white woman married a black man, she became a slave also. She became property of his master. So when you talk about these laws and this mindset goes back many, many years, goes back hundreds of years. So it's hard. It's hard. You got a hangover. It's hard to get rid of that hangover.
The thing is, we're outlining these traits
these things that steered us in this direction.
The pillars of Stockholm Syndrome. And so the first is laziness, right? And then we discussed that first, like the ease that you want to maintain.
The path of least resistance.
Yes, that's lazy.
Like if I'm a hostage and they kick me in my ass, eventually I'm gonna start doing what they say just so I don't get abused anymore. Right. But at the same time, you're giving up your identity.
Okay, so stop. So we got that first part. So now let's discuss what's wrong. What are the flaws in the psyche of the person that submits to that captor? Psychologically or physically in Stockholm. So there must be some malfunction in your self-love.
That's complicated. So if you're being abused, you want to stop the abuse. So it's two ways to deal with it. Either you lash out and fight the abuser, or you submit to the abuser. Because either way. See, but the thing is,
but let me stop you right there, because what I'm referring to is the superiority complex.
I'm saying they may not have a complex in the beginning. That may come later on, because the reason that complex comes is because you have to justify the treatment to yourself too. You blow your own mind. Like you ever mess with a chick and she does something for you that you didn't ask her to do, but at that point she loves you now, whether it's sexual, monetary, whatever. She gave something up for you, and now she gonna look. I gave up my husband for you. We gonna do it. And you're like, wait a minute, I didn't tell you that. I didn't tell you that.
Right. You made a pact.
Yes,
unknowingly.
She made a mental pact.
She made the pact.
Yes, but you were unaware of it.
But you co-signed it without knowing.
No, you didn't co-sign it.
No. But in her eyes, you are co-signing.
You signed both positions.
Yeah.
And what I'm saying is the inferiority doesn't come in right away. What happens is you have to justify the treatment of yourself.
Right.
That I'm being abused. You know what? The reason I'm being abused is because I'm not on that guy's level. You know what? He has the guns. He has all the money. He has all the land. So what happens is you end up blowing your own mind. You end up like, you know what? Then then the inferiority comes in, because you're trying to justify the treatment. You have to like, man, why would somebody treat me like this if I'm human? I must not be human. I have to rectify this in my own mind. And black folks do it constantly. Women do it constantly. It's any minority in this country, in this world, to survive. Either you have to fight. You have to fight to make yourself equal, or you submit to keep yourself sane, and you justify being treated like shit. So I'm not saying it's right. I'm saying that it's like, look, if you keep kicking a dog, either he's going to bite you, like stop kicking me, or he's like, oh, he's going to tuck his tail. I'm like, okay, you're in charge. You're the dominant. And so you sit here and you have to justify that I am not as good as this other person. That's why they're treating me like this. But the truth of the matter is the other person is taking advantage of you. And so you can't allow somebody to take advantage of you. But I was raised in the 70s. You know, if somebody put their hands on you, you're supposed to kick their ass. You know, I came from a situation where my mom was like, look, if you get in a fight, you ain't going to get in trouble with me. I don't care what the teacher said. So you have to rectify in your own mind that fighting is a natural state. We've been convinced that fighting ain't natural, or that fighting is the wrong way to go. Like, oh man, y'all should.
So the captor, the victim, is then taking this ideology and flipping it upside down.
Yes, just to maintain their own sanity, because you have to. They're trying to reason with why am I being treated this way? How many women tell you, like, when we're in high school, we're growing up, man, can't no man put his hands on me. Well, then
you see that same broad in a relationship,
in an abusive relationship. Now, it's not cool, but what you got to understand is something is that the problem with this. When you spank your child as a parent, you're supposed to be disciplining your child, but a lot of people are abusing their children. Discipline and abuse is a fine line. But if she was raised in a household where she got spanked for doing something wrong, well, if that man beats her for doing something wrong, that's how she justifies it in her mind. Oh, I won't move them towels again. I did that. I caused this. You know, I know he was under a lot of stress. I shouldn't have went there. So she's actually justifying that treatment. But how many times can she do that?
Which leads to an inferiority complex, which you're then justifying.
Yeah, or how about he hides information from her? Or he doesn't give her the bank account numbers? Or how many of these women, when the man dies, she can't take care of herself? She doesn't know what anything is.
Okay. Next is sympathy for
the oppressor.
The oppressor.
For the oppressor. Look, how many black folks go to church and they pray for the white cops?
Which is what you were talking about earlier.
Look, here's my issue with the gun control thing is black people. The first thing when you read this media, white officer shoots an unarmed black man. Officer shoots an unarmed black man. If you shoot me, you ain't shooting an unarmed black man because I'm gonna throw something back at you. The fact of the matter is that we even justify in our own minds that black men should have guns because if you got a gun, they might shoot you. They might shoot you without a gun. Hell, let me ask you a question. So they killed Martin Luther King, right? They killed Malcolm X. They didn't care which one was nonviolent, did they?
No.
So but we justify that and we push this. Do you know about my youngest daughter? She explained to me that Gandhi died. I was showing her one of these hidden colors where they talk about Gandhi being a racist, and I think the quote was quoted from like 1902. She goes, Gandhi died in 18 something else. She knew. I didn't know when Gandhi died. She knew when Gandhi died. I got to look it up, so it might be the wrong date. But she was saying that quote is after him, and I'm like, so baby, they teach you about Gandhi in school? Like, yeah, I like Gandhi. He was nonviolent. And I'm like, nah, baby, you need to like Malcolm. So you got to understand is that our kids are being indoctrinated into this society that we don't necessarily agree with. And they're made to have sympathy for the person that's oppressing them. Now, in this day and age, it's not so much white and black, more rich and poor. But the one thing that they drum in our head right now, when you talk about Stockholm Syndrome, see, you're thinking of a black and white thing.
No, I'm not.
Not only, but I'm saying, but how about these...
Because we're going to talk about relationships also.
Yeah. No, let's talk about on the major... Let's talk about on a major level that what we see on television right now, we feel sorry for celebrities. I feel sorry for this millionaire who is doing millionaire things, but he falls off his jet ski and drops his chain in the ocean. So no, you're laughing, but you watch your kids. Watch Kim Kardashian.
Keep her my chain.
Watch Kim Kardashian. Man, do you see how her mother talked to her? They feel sorry for this rich person on TV, or they think that celebrities are better than them because being successful and being a celebrity does not make you intelligent, a good person, or any of those things. It doesn't even make you a worthwhile person to follow. But our kids will watch TV and feel sorry for somebody, and then they transpose that on them. Next thing you know, they're in high school, they're all depressed. I'm depressed. What are you depressed about? I'm depressed. What are you doing? What they do, they feel sorry because they don't have the lifestyle that they see on television. So they feel that they're inferior. This goes back, this is a nationwide Stockholm Syndrome is what you're talking about. And what you're pointing out is actually some very deep shit. My brother, it's some very, very deep stuff. And what people aren't realizing is that we make excuses for everybody. And we make these excuses. And then when you make excuses for your oppressor, this television is oppressing us. This entertainment is oppressing us. And when you make excuses for your oppressor, then that means that you feel sorry for the person that's holding you down. Their foot is on your neck. And what are you doing? You send them money. You buy their products. Look, example, we were just talking about Michael Jordan. And Jordan don't give a damn about anybody black other than his 2 kids, 3 kids, 4 kids. He don't care about them.
He don't give a shit.
Yeah. The man invested in prisons. But
we thought he did, though. We were convinced that he...
No.
Hold on. Yeah, we were convinced we were...
Because he's black, he's of us.
Yes. And so, it wasn't Stockholm in that way. Because
It's the same result, though. You have sympathy and you care about somebody.
But see, the thing is, though, Jordan came from nothing and he rose to, great wealth.
Yeah.
And so, he was seen as a common man that we could relate to. That he's rich and we think that he cares, but then he gets put on blast and it's like, oh, he's a piece of shit just like the rest of us.
But it's 3 things that we're missing. One, LeBron was doing all this stuff. Jordan didn't start donating money to these hospitals and opening all this stuff until LeBron did. LeBron has influenced Jordan more than Jordan influenced LeBron.
That is correct.
Number 2, when you fall in love with somebody, a girl or a guy, when you fall in love, you tend to give them traits they don't possess. We were in love with Jordan in the fashion sense, so we gave him traits that he didn't possess. Because when you like somebody, when you like a religion, when you like a car, hey, my car is awesome. So you give them traits. I was in love with this shit for a long time. Didn't work out. But, man, she was intelligent. She was smart. She was this. She was that. Nah, because when I broke up with her, she was a dumb bitch. You know why? Because she was never smart to begin with. I just didn't want to fall in love with a dumb person. So I gave her traits. Yeah, man, she's real thrifty. Man, that bitch broke. See, so what you got to recognize...
You're projecting.
You project what you want them to have. We all, as a nation of black people, projected onto Michael Jordan.
Yes.
And we gave him way more than we should have.
Gave him kingship.
Look, one of the arguments that me and my friends had over who was a better businessman, Michael Jordan or Magic Johnson?
Magic Johnson all day.
Because he built everything. Jordan rolled the back of Nike in that product and everything took off together.
Yeah.
He didn't make any who designed the first pair of Jordans? Was it Phil Jackson?
No, it was Tinker Hatfield.
No, his name is Phil. There's another guy, Phil Knight.
Phil Knight was the guy from Nike. He owns Nike.
No,
yeah.
It was another. Oh, what is the guy?
No, Phil Knight.
Was it Flip? I can't think of the guy.
No. See, Tinker Hatfield. You're right. Tinker Hatfield. He came along with the Jordan, the second ones.
Yes.
Yeah.
But here's the issue. Michael Jordan ain't designed the shoes.
None of them.
I think
no. He gets the last say on them.
Yeah.
After these guys.
That's now. But even back then, he didn't have a say.
No.
And so, but like I said, we project that he's some great business mind.
A whiz.
Look what happened was the Washington Bullets. He drafted Kwame Brown, the worst draft pick ever. And then what he did was he sold his shares to Bob Johnson so he could play. So when he was done playing, he went to buy his shares back from Bob Johnson. Bob was like, "Nah, I don't want you in my front office no more. You suck," and didn't sell the shares back. He's not. Yeah, people don't know that he's not some great businessman. What it is because we like. But here, okay, hold it. Let's talk about Stockholm Syndrome right now with white folks and Donald Trump. Donald Trump don't give a fuck about little man. But they all say he's a great businessman. He's this. He's going to do this. But he sent his own jobs, his own corporations overseas. Most of his hotels.
Yeah, he also sent American troops to go and defend Saudi oil fields.
Yes.
Nothing that had anything to do with American lives.
With the common man over here.
Correct.
Yeah, so
it's off the script.
But that's what makes it Stockholm. You feel sympathy for somebody who doesn't have sympathy for you. You feel sympathy for somebody who's rich. And he sits and what he does, okay, first things first, people keep saying he's a fascist. He is not a fascist. He's an asshole that picks out bullet points and lets you run with them. But that's it. He doesn't even care about you. He's holding you captive. He's holding you captive for your poor whiteness. Because you feel like a white man will have your best interest at heart. Because the last guy was black, and we don't think that he had our best. No, the country was more prosperous under him. Now, I do feel that Barack didn't take care of black folks like he should. And so when you look at the murder of Muammar Gaddafi, when you find out what Gaddafi was doing,
that was Hillary all day.
Hillary was Secretary of State, and she bragged about it. But Barack was still in office.
That Clinton murder machine, buddy.
Look, here's another thing. I'm gonna give another example. Whenever these politicians say some truth, they're talking that Mason Illuminati speak, and we don't realize what they're saying.
Yeah.
First, let's talk about the president now. When Trump said, when he was talking to black folks, said you built this country, and they started clapping, he was not talking about physically. He was not talking about slavery. He was talking about he found out the Constitution was written by the Iroquois, and the Iroquois were black. They were citizens of Morocco. El Morocco. So when you find out when Dave Chappelle said
Iroquois Confederacy,
Iroquois Constitution. Remember, we learned we always hear about it a little bit. And people say that they had a big part in the writing of this Constitution. That's where Thomas Jefferson got it from. No, he got the whole thing from them. And when you realize that there were actual people here, there were actual books here and writing here, that these weren't these noble savages that they tell you. When you find out some bishop had a book burning, because that's what the Catholic Church did. It had book burnings all throughout the world. And the only books that survived that were 3 different codexes. These are the codexes that explain the levels of priesthood in these different tribes. You can find those.
Well, part of the reason documents survive is because they're held within monasteries.
Yes, that is very true.
As a matter of fact, like a part of the sacred books of the Catholic Church were saved by Irish Catholic priests.
Yes. And so what I'm saying is, again, when Donald Trump sit there and said, you built this country, he was not talking about physically. He found out some information. The other time when President Obama did it, when President Obama talks about the first country to recognize America as a nation was Morocco, that is some Muslim shit right there. That's some West African. What he's saying is there was a note between the king of Morocco and George Washington. Why was that? When you read this note, it doesn't make sense. He said, "Hey, I want to renew commerce because this land belonged to Morocco," and he's telling them, "Hey, I'm sorry for the death of your father, but I hope that we still have the same prosperity we've always had in our relationship." What he's telling you is that, yes, this was your land, it's our land now, but we will continue to need your help. Morocco was the first country to recognize America's independence. So when the history teacher, when that law professor, Mr. Obama says that, people don't realize what he's really talking about. He's telling you like, hey, there was a history here prior to what you guys understand. So back to our original point is that you got all these black folks like, hey man, the president said this or the president said that. That's Stockholm Syndrome because he ain't telling you the whole story and he knows way more than you about the situation. We feel sorry for this rich in the White House, but we don't feel sorry for our own brothers and sisters on the street that were affected by his decisions. And again, we always talk about the black vote. It's about the black dollar. Until we practice group economics, because we can do a boycott because black folks have had the longest boycott in this country when it comes to black businesses. we boycott black businesses, no problem.
Yes. Right away.
Yes. And see, that right there is a prime example of Stockholm syndrome in the reverse. Because, like, hey, I will go to the mall, even though I got a store right here by me that sells the same thing. We got 2 or 3 sneakers.
Dude, listen, I will boycott a Muslim fish place if they sell bad bean pies.
Yeah.
I got sick from some shitty bad bean pies that were left out on the counter.
And you will not forget that.
I won't ever forget or forgive that place.
But how many times have we been done wrong by Walmart? How many times have we been done wrong by these big, huge chains? We've been done wrong by them, but I'll give them a chance because that commercial's on TV.
Yeah, I keep it real. I don't fuck with Reebok. I still don't fuck with Reebok because of South Africa.
I got you. But you remember that. Most people don't.
Right.
And look, I'm gonna give you a prime example. You know, people talk about Nike overseas.
Timberlands.
I don't know.
Tommy Hilfiger.
I don't know if the Timberland thing was true though.
Whatever, dude.
I'm saying I don't know if it was true.
It was real. It was real.
Yeah, they said. Yeah, I don't know.
Is it that hard to grasp, really?
Look.
Can you not foresee something like that?
Yeah, hold it. Yes, I can. I just said I don't know. What I'm simply saying is that many of these rumors we've had have been incorrect.
Okay, confirmed. Okay, sure.
Yeah.
But the Tommy Hilfiger one was confirmed.
Oh yeah,
Gucci with this stepping and fetching blackface bullshit.
Oh, but hold it. Here's the problem with that. If people don't know this, their Prada, the Chinese people had something went on with Prada. Where Prada offended these Chinese people, and they said we're not buying Prada. And there was nothing on Facebook about it, but they all knew it and they all adhered to it. They all stopped buying. All the Chinese people stopped buying Prada.
Listen, at their weekly white people meeting, they talked about it.
Yeah,
that's how they did it. Okay,
but that's the whole thing is that we don't have to have meetings. And the thing is, but it doesn't help when one of your major stars, Floyd Mayweather, instead of telling Floyd, hey, what about the boycott? Floyd didn't know anything about it. Instead, you just say, hey, you do realize that black folks are boycotting Gucci because of this, and this. I don't know nothing about that. Yeah, that's cool. And on Floyd's tip, he should have talked to one of his people, like, hey, what's going on with this Gucci protest? What's going on with this? But the thing is, since he got the money, he don't care about it. He doesn't care about the common guy. He doesn't care how these people treat his people. And he doesn't care. Hell, for all we know, he might be wearing one of them blackface sweaters right now. So you got to be careful who you look up to. And that, like I said, when we look up to them people on TV, that is Stockholm syndrome at the highest form, because we will sit here like, man, did you see what happened to Floyd, man? They wouldn't let him spend $180,000 at once. That's fucked up, man. And we have these conversations like it relates to us. No. that falls in that nigga please category.
Yes.
See, you remember when your dad used to say nigga please?
That's exactly what
that is. It didn't make sense when you were a kid. It makes sense now.
No, it did. Like, see, okay, he would say that's some Mickey Mouse bullshit.
I know.
And the thing was, I was convinced from a very young age that Mickey Mouse he was a fucking con man, and it was some cheap bullshit. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's nigga please for a little kid is Mickey Mouse bullshit.
Okay. Now, first, I've talked bad about the president, and I've talked bad about both presidents. Let's talk about the Democratic Party. That's Munchausen syndrome at its finest. Black folks vote for the Democratic Party. That party don't do shit for black folks.
That is true.
And so the issue is...
That's some Stockholm right there.
Yeah, and so you got to understand, okay, let's... People say it happened after Reconstruction, because after Reconstruction, black folks were Republican. And the person that freed the slaves supposedly was Lincoln. Now...
Democrat.
Lincoln was Republican.
No. I'm talking about after.
No. But you got to remember, we had become technically we supposedly became Democrats somewhere a short time, like 50 years after Reconstruction. Many people say we became Democrat when it came to the Jackie Robinson. It was Jackie Robinson, Martin Luther King, JFK, Richard Nixon. There was some kind of deal where Martin Luther King got arrested. Protest. And Jackie Robinson told Nixon to call him and check on him. And Nixon said, I don't grandstand. I'm not doing that. JFK called him and checked on him. So when that happened, remember, King never really declared what he was, but his father, Martin Luther King Sr., said, look, I got a suitcase full of votes, and they're going to him. My church is going to vote for JFK. So then, short time later, Jimmy Carter was a big part of us voting that way, because we felt Jimmy Carter was legit. He was the only president we ever had that was not racist, was Jimmy Carter. He was not a bigot. He is not, because he ain't dead. He is not. And so when you find this out, we started voting Democrat then because Democrats were willing to give us money for things. But you got to understand, Republicans were funding stuff, but they believe in giving money to the church, and then y'all funnel it out however you want. So
trickle down.
And trickle down economics does not work. But that's another conversation. So right now, the reason we don't like Republicans, even though the fact is most black folks actually are very conservative in their belief systems, is because we know Republicans are racist. Okay, what president have we had? Like I said, every president we had except one was racist. They all were. And throw Barack's ass in there too. They all were. So when you sit here and vote for this Democratic Party, Hillary this, Hillary that, how many black folks Hillary done killed?
Oh, man.
Exactly.
When you look at the body count, there's at least 4 on there.
What about Haiti? What about the 600?
I'm talking about the ones that are, how can I say this?
She's directly responsible for it.
Well, yeah, directly responsible.
Okay.
That's a good way of putting it.
Okay.
So now Haiti, here's the thing. Before we go too far off the path here, the Haiti situation involved children.
Yes.
And a lot of people don't know this. So the thing about the Haiti situation is that there's been a lot of people that were bodied because of her creating this funnel for these pedophiles to get black kids snatched off the streets of Haiti into a van and into a waiting airplane and brought to Florida.
It's a lot of that going on. What I'm saying is people sit here and say Hillary this and Democrat that. Okay, you talk about the people she killed. Let's talk about Muammar Gaddafi. She killed him. Let's talk about, how about Bill's baby mama? How about that black lady that supposed to have? She ended up dead too. She got thrown. When you talk to the son, the one that looks like Bill Clinton, the black kid that supposedly is his kid. I don't know if it is or not. I'm just going by the pictures. He looked like that boy. And he said, man, they threw my mama off a 3-story building once, trying to kill her. So when you sit, how do you feel sorry for Hillary Clinton?
That's a bad bitch. She could fall 3 stories and not fucking die. She's bad as fuck.
She has something to live for.
Yes. So okay, but let's rein this back in down to
why do black folks vote for the Democratic Party is what I'm saying.
Yes.
When they haven't produced results properly. When they sit here and
that goes to what we're saying about the Stockholm syndrome. It's
but
easy
you
to do.
People say
it's
stuff,
the easy choice.
But then here's the response. Either they say they're the lesser of two evils, or they sit there and say the Republicans are racist, but so are the Democrats.
Right.
And also, but this goes back to what you were saying: being a bigot and being a racist are two different things. They're very similar, but they're not. Racism has to do with resources, land,
power,
like
true
land.
Power.
No, it's specific when it has to do with gold and stuff like that. Bigotry is when I don't like you because you're black and I affect you because of it.
And that's the word that people used to say, prejudice.
Prejudice, very good. And so when you look at Strom Thurmond, that's that Democrat, that's that racist Democrat that
they had the side piece that was black. Yes.
His daughter is black, but for some reason. So he was still a Democrat from the day to the day he died.
Yes, like he was an OG, triple OG Democrat.
But nobody shunned him. Nobody said, "Hey, get the hell out of here. We don't socialize with you." No. So when you sit here, the Democrats have a racist history that nobody wants to address. Poor whites, the Deep South had always been Democrat. You got to remember, the Klan is Democrat.
But see, this is the whole thing. Like, and you're taught that you're supposed to like be okay with this Freaky Friday change up.
Oh yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
The sleight of hand.
Yeah, like you see that, did you?
Yeah, 3-card money.
Yeah, we're over here now. What?
But you got to understand that, the reason Malcolm didn't like liberals is because he said that's not their true nature.
Yes, he saw this shit was phony.
Yeah, it's phony. You're doing it to make yourself feel better.
Yes.
But on the same token, when you worry more about your feelings and your actual physical well-being, that's how Stockholm Syndrome happens. When you worry about feeling good. See, Barack made you feel good, but did he make you good financially? Black folks were in the same position under Barack. But black folks make money under other presidents. We don't talk about that.
What I will say that he's done that has benefited everybody was credit card reform and some reform for student loans. So he did do some things that were beneficial. But let's bring this back to relationships, because this is something that's truly tangible in our everyday lives.
Yeah, you see it all the time.
That we see all the time. That we can name people we want. We can name people that we know, that we've seen, and we'll just call it straight up like, dude, you you clowning yourself. This isn't your true nature. Why are you behaving like this? Like, why are you with this broad? She don't respect you. She controls you. You know, you're thinking and acting in ways that are alien to your true nature.
It's not even healthy for you. But look, what is the greatest tool the devil has? Guilt. You feel guilty. You feel guilty for many times a man who might be making more money is getting mistreated by a woman, but he feels guilty leaving her because I'm going to abandon her and the kids or whatever. And I'm not talking about marriage.
Very good.
It might not even be his kids.
Financially.
Yes, but guilt is the number one tool. Even when that guy is beating his wife and making her stay, you talking about inferiority, it's the guilt that's associated with it. How many of these parents aren't being good parents right now, and the children are terrorizing them? The children are running the house because of the guilt. That's Stockholm Syndrome at the worst, because a lot of times these people need to abandon some of their kids. Like, look, man, your kid needs a dose of reality. They're 22 years old, but I don't want them to fail. The reason you don't want them to fail because you know as a parent you failed somewhere, and now you feel guilt. Instead of recognizing that this person needs a dose of reality and they need to explore their own adulthood and figure out what they need to be doing correctly. So that guilt is the biggest tool the devil has. And until you understand how to place guilt and how to deal with it, that goes back to what we were initially saying about you're more worried about how you feel than how you are. Guilt makes you feel certain way.
Say that again.
Yeah, guilt will suck you down, even though, like, hey, I'm healthy, I'm good. I can go do whatever I want financially. I can do whatever I want physically, but guilt has me like, okay, babe, I know, I'm sorry. I shouldn't have left the toilet seat up. My God, what was I thinking? No. You can't let somebody guilt you, but we have guilt because of television. We have guilt because of religion. We have guilt because of financial situations. We have guilt. Your credit score is the most guilty motherfucking thing on this earth.
Oh,
it will make
tell me about it.
I am liquid, but I feel like hey, let me tell you something. This is on a personal level. D, you know what I do. I got money in the bank. I've sold a couple of houses, a couple of cars. I'm working on it. But guess what? My credit score is 530, and it will not go up.
What?
Because of some slow pay shit. So what did I do? So when me and my wife, I said, look, we're going to focus on your credit. My wife's credit is...
I can cut that out. Let me cut that
I
out.
don't give a fuck about that. I'm a grown man.
Go ahead.
But what I'm saying, that's how you're... There are many people, girls especially, women especially, but dudes too, but more women, they feel guilty about their credit score. They actually feel ashamed and embarrassed. And so what do? They run and get a car they can't afford. I'm going to give you an example. My wife's ex-husband, he got a Mustang with a 27% interest rate. That's like buying it with a credit card. Yes. But you feel so guilty because they tell you when you go to a place your credit score is low. So what do? You're like, okay, I'll finance for 8 years. Car ain't gonna last that long. That's guilt. This is a nationwide guilt thing. And what you're saying about Stockholm Syndrome, they have the ability to control you through your guilt. You feel bad for the oppressor. You feel guilty because you don't satisfy a bank. You feel guilty because you don't satisfy. That is Stockholm at its best, but it's on a national level. Our kids feel sorry for celebrities. You as an adult feel sorry because you can't buy your kid Jordans. And this other person feels sorry because what? Because I don't want to leave because you're mistreating me, but if I leave, then what does that say about me? It's a nationwide guilt fest. And then, like you said, Stockholm, they're holding you hostage, but they're kicking you in the nuts, but you're saying thank you because you don't want to kick you in the nuts no more. But you know what? At some point, you start to accept it. No, you don't accept it because fighting back is not negative. Putting up a fight is not negative. Having an opinion is not negative because when somebody lashes out now at work or anyplace, that motherfucker crazy.
So let's talk about how far this leads people, because what I have seen,
it leads people to mass shootings and shit.
But wait, what I've seen this result in is broken homes where a child is born into this broken relationship with this man, this woman, where there's a Stockholm Syndrome and a captor and a victim and all that.
Child's a product of that, yeah.
And the child becomes a product of that and starts to see the side effects, but isn't really aware exactly what it is or can't voice what it is. And so I see people go through this for like decades, miserable, drinking and like abusing drugs and like this, in this downward spiral, going so far away from their true nature. And I see this happen long term, short term, but like people are willing to stay in this and just get dragged through the mud and not, buck the system or like get out of it. But so what I'm really like pointing at is like the long-term effects of staying in that and the damage that causes staying in that.
Look,
Psychosis.
People fear success more than they feel failure now.
Mm-hmm.
Failure is comfortable, and they're afraid of success. Look, first things first, the thing about a child, I always, if I ever blessed with a child, I want my child to be the product of a healthy relationship, not what my relationship is based on.
Right.
So many people, you were talking about Stockholm Syndrome, that child is a tool to keep that other person too. Many women use
dude, I have seen that so much.
They use the child to capture the man, or the man uses the child to limit the woman's options.
Yes.
She decides to go to school. She's making something of herself.
Yeah.
She's getting too big for her britches. You knock her up. Now she can't finish school. She got to come back home. On the same token, you got a man falls in love with a woman. And it's all good, but then once she's pregnant, then she can allow her real personality out, and she's abusive, she's domineering, those are not bad traits when you're equals. But when you're making somebody submit, when you're dragging somebody down, when you're taking advantage of them, that's what we're talking about. And like I said, well, I'm in the right, I might as well stay, or I can't leave the state because I want to see my kid, or I can't take this job someplace else.
Or the kids got good schools and they got a nice house. We got country club memberships, blah, blah, blah.
And the children see this. That's another thing that I fight with my lady about and the people in my world. Like, look, kids see this. Like, me and my granddaughter one time, my wife was yelling at me or something. And my granddaughter, I'm holding her. You know what she did? She grabbed me by my face and go, budget.
The child did that?
She was imitating her grandmother.
Wow.
She was 2. So when you think your children are not watching, they are sponges for all kinds of stuff. And so when you realize that she's imitating her grandmother because since you talk to me so long, I'm like, you think it's funny? It's funny, we're laughing, but the truth is,
that's real shit.
Yeah, she's absorbing that already.
Wow.
So in the same token, when you are shallow and you care about shoes, and you are shallow and you care about these different things, you're passing that on to your child, an unrealistic thing. And so, but it also makes that child feel sorry for the oppressor again. There's nothing wrong with going to church, because that's where we started out when we were talking about much. There's nothing wrong with teaching your child faith, but religion and spirituality ain't the same thing. Religion is a tool to get to spirituality. Spirituality should be your goal. Mm-hmm. Spirituality is your relationship with the higher. And if you don't want to use the word God, let's use the word Elohim, because that's what we're supposed to use anyway. But when you recognize that if you don't have a healthy relationship like that, your child is observing that, they're digesting that too.
Yeah.
And the thing is,
then they're going to pass that on.
Yes. This goes back with Willie Lynch said. All this that you were saying earlier is 100% true, because what you're not seeing is that we're taught this negative behavior. We're taught that black people are inferior. We're taught to hate ourselves, but we're taught to love white folks. Now, we say we hate white folks, but when you look at the behavior, that is, you're showing one person love, one other person hate. I don't buy from my own people. I don't take care of my own family. When somebody loses a job, we don't donate money to them. But let somebody white get on there. And we got victims over here in the bottom. We donate. Boston strong. We donate. So don't laugh.
That's real. That's some real shit.
But see, that is Stockholm Syndrome at its finest, because again, you are feeling sorry. You're falling in love with your oppressor. You're taking up your oppressor's fight. Many of the arguments we have as black folks are white folks' arguments. So when I sit here and tell people, when they talk about gun control, I was talking to a lady at work last night. She's from Chicago, and she's like, well, yeah, I was driving with somebody, and this lady was showing me a picture of her granddaughter with a manga hat. She's like, I don't like to talk religion. I don't like to talk politics. But she's all I'm saying with gun control, we don't deserve army guns. I'm like, that's not true. We deserve the exact same thing the military has, the militia has. The people that will come to your house and take your property are going to have guns. If you feel that it's not right to shoot somebody, we should not be shooting people. That's illegal. Prosecute these people properly. Stop killing black kids for jaywalking and then let these white shooters live, because you're not punishing them. Or they commit suicide. Nah, if they commit suicide, revive their butt right there and let them receive what's going to happen to them. But the fact that when any black person talks gun control, that is Stockholm Syndrome. Because, those spree shooters. And
I agree 100%.
Yeah, those spree shooters and all that stuff, those are white people issues, and we ain't jumping in that argument.
But see, let me stop you right there, because Black people have been dealing with mass shooters for a while.
Because
drive-by shooting is a fucking mass shooter. Yes, it is.
How about riots? How many of these lynchings and riots and all those different things that took place? How many of these black communities, because they were too successful? We all know about Tulsa.
Tulsa was the most underreported act of terrorism in American history.
They do not talk about it, but when you realize that the riot was over, the sheriff got in the airplane and bombed it. When you realize, one, they keep calling it Black Wall Street. Tulsa predated Wall Street. Tulsa was doing business was going to do business with Brazil. Tulsa was doing business with all these outside countries. That's what you're not getting. So when you realize that they were thriving,
they had airplanes.
They
had
airports.
These black people had
theaters.
Listen, forget about the movie theaters, the bowling alleys, all that stuff. They had airplanes. Let me just illustrate this for everyone who's listening. Everybody, this was 1921. It was 1921. The thing is, nobody had airplanes. Okay?
Not even the Air Force.
Nobody had airplanes. There was barely an Air Force. The United States Air Force barely existed. Airplanes were new. Black people had airplanes. Black people had real equity. Can we say that? Black people had real equity. Bro, if you have an airplane, that's equity. Okay? Real equity.
Look, I don't want to word this. I don't want to say it incorrectly. I don't want to sound dumb. Whenever we have these spree shooters, or people shoot up these places, and people start talking gun control, this, and this, I liken it to when a man or a woman, when a woman gets raped, she has two choices. Either, okay, let me get over it, proceed with my life, it's wrong, what was done to me is wrong, or she can ball herself up and die inside. And what you got to understand, that's how America is. It's a great country, has a lot of stuff going for it, but then this one thing happens, and then we react to that as if that's our total being. And you can't let that happen. We have to move on from those things. But you need to understand, getting rid of guns ain't the issue. You ain't prosecuting the people doing it. You ain't fixing the situation that created these people. You ain't fixing none of that stuff. Because guns have always been here. But how come we didn't have these free shooters all back in the day? There were one or two, the book depository in Dallas, that was it. So it's because the fact of the matter is that people were prosperous. They could take care of their families, and they were having a good life. If you bring back the middle class, because these countries exist off the middle class. Bring back the middle class. Quit attacking the middle class. Quit giving these tax breaks. Like I said, we feel sorry for the rich. We actually argue for the rich. Like, hey, he deserves
that's Stockholm syndrome. So, in closing, we have identified the symptoms and the side effects.
The participants too.
We have, but the thing is that going forward, we have to be vigilant to tell people that we see affected by this, make them aware of it, and help them to snap out of it. You know what I mean? Because we won't fall victim to it because we know it now. We see it. We know what it is. Fool me once.
Yeah, sure.
Exactly.
But people don't want to fight anymore. Some kind of way, fighting. You've been convinced that fighting is negative.
Mm-hmm.
Also, you're convinced that
I don't give a shit. I don't give a shit.
Yeah, you
I'm gonna keep fighting. I don't give a shit.
That you don't want to fight. You worry about tomorrow. I might not have a job tomorrow. They were already taking your job to begin with.
Right.
They killed away the middle class. These companies are firing people left and right, and we're convinced that starting a business is a bad idea. I'm scared to start a business. Back in the day, that was the American dream. Was you take your corporate money and start you a business, and you go on from that, and then you become the big guy. You become the big fish on the block. They convince you that that's not a good idea.
But see, what you're talking about is an awakening, is clear, sober thought and focus. So
how many times have you seen people on Shark Tank get screwed, and people like, man, you should take this? I'm like, dude, they're screwing you.
Yeah.
As soon as one of the millionaires show interest in my product, that is justification for me to know, look, I can go ahead and list on my own.
Correct.
Yeah, they wouldn't be offering me this money if it wasn't a solid idea. Sometimes you have to have faith. Sometimes you need, these are messages from God. They're letting you know, hey, you got a good idea. Or just do a straight up startup. Look, I got it going. I want to sell my business for $5 million, and I do want to keep a few residuals, money things, So, but the fact is this: that we feel sorry for the big guy. How do you feel sorry for the guy that's standing over you? Penis hitting you in the head. I'm sorry. You don't feel sorry for somebody. You got to stop feeling sorry for everybody. And sometimes
that's part of it. That's part of like the defense against this.
Well, what it is you feel sorry for yourself, so you want to project that. Like you said earlier, we're projecting. Oh man, that guy, he works really hard. Oh my God, how many businesses does? Man, how does Gates do it? Good Lord, he's not the number one guy anymore. Is Bezos is?
Right,
Gee whiz.
I'm not a cheerleader. I don't give a shit.
Exactly. And that's you got to stop doing that and start being your own cheerleader and pushing yourself forward and not fearing the fight, because if it's a prolonged fight, so what? You got to win. You're not trying to win. You're trying to exist. I don't want to exist. I want to live. I want to be able to, hey kids, this is how it's done. Or look, my kids seen me beat somebody up once. They didn't see it. They didn't know it was gonna go down like that. Neither did that guy. It's just part of life. I'm not afraid of the fight.
Yeah, but that was a teachable moment though for them.
Yeah, I'm not afraid of losing. You know, one time I was driving with one of my daughters and I saw these birds was fighting. You know, you see these birds chasing this big ass hawk.
Yeah.
Like, look at that. Size don't matter. They're not afraid of him.
Yeah.
You know,
yeah.
He whatever he did wrong with those 2 or 3 birds.
Yeah, they be getting in his ass.
Yeah, he's flying. He's getting the hell out of Dodge. That's how the union works. Solidarity. Look, people talk about these big companies, but you just saw GM went on strike. 53,000 people. Yeah. They got what the fuck they wanted.
Yeah.
See, when we act as one, when black folks act as one, when we spend our money as one, we will create a dynasty. We will get the things done. But when you feel like, fuck it, I ain't supporting no black nigga. They slow as hell. I'm not going to no chicken spot. Yeah, screw it. But the fact of the matter is, you know as well as I do that we're consuming the wrong things, and we don't want to address those issues. Right. Earlier today, we were talking about self-medicating. You're self-medicating. You're drinking to take the pain away. You're smoking weed. It makes you comfortable with mediocrity. You know, do you know why they don't finally legalize weed? Because they want you to be mediocre. They want you.
But the thing is, you're talking about, you're tying in self-medication with Stockholm syndrome.
Because what I'm saying is, this goes back to the part where I was making about how you feel and how you really are.
Mm-hmm.
You feel good even though you're in a bad situation. Mm-hmm. This makes it easier for these people. It makes it easier for you to be part of the Stockholm syndrome. It makes it easier for you to be the victim, because, like, you know what? If I smoke this weed, I'll feel good. I won't be good. My bills won't be paid. My wife won't be satisfied sexually. And my kids won't be disciplined, but I feel like a champ because I smoked a joint. So that's part of the Stockholm syndrome, because what you're doing is playing your role by you self-medicating, by you even eating the wrong foods. Sugar is addictive. You know, those things are addictive. So by you consuming these things, all you're doing is making the other person richer, making yourself sicker, but you feel better. It's not about feeling better. It's about being better. It's about being healthy mentally. You're running out. I'm sorry, man. Wrap it up.
No, we're good.
But what I'm saying is that we're in Stockholm syndrome because our guilt, our things, everything is misrepresented, and we're also focusing in the wrong direction. We focus a lot of things inward that should be projected outward. And when you feel that, when you got that guilt, like, you want to buy stuff to make yourself feel better. Shopping is an addiction.
Trying to fill a hole.
Yeah, you're feeling an emotional hole. So yes, it makes it easier look, birds ain't thinking about ants. That rich motherfucker ain't thinking about you. Unless he's about to eat you.
Yeah.
Unless that bird is about to eat that ant.
Yeah.
That nigga soaring ain't thinking about you.
Right.
But because of TV and reality shows, you think yeah, man, I want to be discovered. What the fuck? Get the fuck out of here. Mm-hmm. Mickey Mouse bullshit.
That is.
And so that's what you must understand. If you recognize that you're in an unhealthy situation, it's your job to get yourself out of it. And don't get me wrong, I do know racism exists. I do know bigotry exists. I do know prejudice exists. And I do know that people display it, and they will put obstacles in your way. So I'm not saying it doesn't exist, but I'm saying that you don't have to let it beat you. And look, how many times have people did something illegal to get started? Hey, you sell some weed, so what? You get that money, you invest it. You know, it doesn't matter how you got started, but it matters how you end. And that's what we're trying to do. We're trying to win this. We're trying to end properly. And nobody wants to do that anymore. They just want to be discovered and get rich by doing that. Look,
it's because they're victims of Stockholm syndrome.
Yeah, like I told you.
And so long as you're within that hierarchy, you'll never be free.
Yeah, long as you subject yourself
Exactly.
As long as you're like, hey, I'm cool where I am.
Do not submit.
But you know, that's another thing about capitalism. There are people that don't care about capitalism. There are people.
Of course.
Because what makes capitalism work is being poor and trying to get to the top. But you got some people like down here, I'm cool. I got a couple of uncles and cousins, they don't give a fuck. You know, like they walk out the house, drink a beer, and like, fuck it, I'm cool. This is my day. Nigga, this is my day. I've reached my goal already. So that's a problem with, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to spit on you. When people sit there and actually find their niche and find what they're comfortable with, and they're not trying to get further, you know, I get it's one thing when it's healthy. When I've retired, I reached my, you know what, I'm cool here. This is where I want to be. But it's another thing when you sit here and are confined by outside sources, by redlining, by I can't get a job, by these different things, and then next thing you know, then you respect the person who's holding you back. That's Stockholm syndrome. That's loving that white Jesus. That's all these different things. That's sitting here telling me that this is the most beautiful person in the world. That's telling me that yes. Or how another thing that drives me crazy when black folks find out something special about themselves and they start to enjoy and love themselves, then they start treating other black people the way white people treated them.
Yeah,
that's not 2 tears in a bucket. I'm not doing that. You understand?
Yes.
So how many of these black people find out like, hey, I'm Hebrew and black Hebrew this, but then they treat every other black person like they're crap? Like, no, no, that should be uplifting you.
Yeah,
that should be you like, hey, you know what? Let's unite. Let's do this the way we're supposed to.
Let me teach you what I've learned, and maybe that can help you.
Yes, but that's not what's going down. What's going down is that I'm in a position of power, and instead of sharing my power or making you